Reading furnishes the mind only with materials of knowledge. It is thinking that makes what we read ours. I have always thought the actions of men the best interpreters of their thoughts. New opinions are always suspected, and usually opposed, without any other reason but because they are not common. Nothing is in the intellect that was not first in the senses. What worries you masters you. There are 1,000 ways to wealth, but only one way to heaven. When we find out an idea, by whose intervention we discover the connection of two others, this is a revelation from God to us, by the voice of reason. Truths are not the better nor the worse for their obviousness or difficulty, but their value is to be measured by their usefulness and tendency. The only defense against the world is a thorough knowledge of it. We are like chameleons. We take our hue and the color of our moral character from those who are around us. Parents wonder why the streams are bitter, when they themselves poison the fountain. In transgressing the law of nature, the offender declares himself to live by another rule than that of reason and common equity. Education begins the gentleman, but reading, good company and reflection must finish him. To love truth for truth's sake is the principal part of human perfection in this world, and the seed plot of all other virtues. Being all equal and independent, no one ought to harm another in his life, health, liberty, or possessions. Revolt is the right of the people. No man's knowledge here can go beyond his experience. The most precious of all possessions is power over ourselves. Personal identity depends on consciousness, not on substance. It is ambition enough to be employed as an under-laborer in clearing the ground a little, and removing some of the rubbish which lies in the way to knowledge. Who are we to tell anyone what they can or can't do? It is only practice that improves our minds as well as bodies, and we must expect nothing from our understandings any farther than they are perfected by habits. Whenever law ends, tyranny begins. It is of great use to the sailor to know the length of his line, though he cannot with it fathom all the depths of the ocean. There is frequently more to be learned from the unexpected questions of a child than the discourses of men. To prejudge other men's notions before we have looked into them is not to show their darkness but to put out our own eyes. All wealth is the product of labor. Our business here is not to know all things, but those which concern our conduct. A sound mind in a sound body is a short but full description of a happy state in this world. He that has these two has little more to wish for, and he that wants either of them will be little better for anything else. Virtue is harder to be got than knowledge of the world, and, if lost in a young man, is seldom recovered. All men are liable to error, and most men are, in many points, by passion or interest, under temptation to it. The thoughts that come often unsought, and, as it were, drop into the mind, are commonly the most valuable of any we have. You can't betray yourself too often, or you become somebody else. Affectation is an awkward and forced imitation of what should be genuine and easy, wanting the beauty that accompanies what is natural. He that takes away reason to make way for revelation puts out the light of both, as one who pokes out eye to see. Seek to make thy course regular, that men may know beforehand what they may expect. Reverie is when ideas float in our mind without reflection or regard of the understanding. Fortitude is the guard and support of the other virtues. Business of man is to be happy. There being no room for equivocations, there is no need of distinctions. But in truth the ideas and images in men's minds are the invisible powers that constantly govern them, and to these they all universally pay a ready submission. Where there is no property, there is no injury. Man is not permitted without censure to follow his own thoughts in the search of truth, when they lead him ever so little out of the common road. No peace and security among mankind, let alone common friendship, can ever exist as long as people think that governments get their authority from God and that religion is to be propagated by force of arms. Men living together according to reason, without a common superior on earth, with authority to judge between them, is properly the state of nature. The great question which in all ages has disturbed mankind, and brought on them the greatest part of those mischiefs which have ruined cities, depopulated countries, and disordered the peace of the world, has been, not whether there be power in the world, nor whence it came, but who should have it. The legislative cannot transfer the power of making laws to any other hands, for it being but a delegated power from the people, they who have it cannot pass it over to others. Men's actions are the best guides to their thoughts.